Welcome to Enjoy the Journey podcast, where we interview expert entrepreneurs and thought leaders to help guide you in pursuit of financial freedom. Presented to you by Jackson Milan, the Wealth Mentor, and Sam Panetta, the Money Man, where we help service-based business owners remove cash flow bottlenecks, maximize their profits, and turn business profits into personal wealth. G'day guys, this is Jackson Milan, the Wealth Mentor, and really excited for another expert masterclass for the Enjoy the Journey podcast. I'm very excited to be joined here today with Kathleen from Power Up Your Marketing. Kathleen was introduced through the BX Network, and I was really excited to have a conversation because we share some really similar views around the power of branding, positioning, and having the right money beliefs when it comes to growing and scaling your business as an entrepreneur. So really excited to have a conversation and unpack some of Kathleen's amazing experience in the marketing space to help you small business owners grow and scale your business and actually charge what you're worth. So Kathleen, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing really well, and I'm very happy to be here. Thanks very much for the invitation, Jackson.
No, it's a pleasure. So Kathleen, tell us a little bit about you and your story.
Oh, I love stories. I like to know other people's stories, and I think through stories we get to understand the person behind the brand. Just perfect timing.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's off now. Okay, in demand. There you go. So yeah, backstory for me. I'm a corporate escapee. I got what I like to call the Don't Come Monday invitation. And that was about 25 years ago. And I think in corporate life, things not changed very much. People are still, they're downsizing and people are being moved on with a lot of things still to offer. So I needed to reinvent myself. Lots of people doing that right now too. So hopefully what I share here might be helpful for people who are looking, to pivot their business given the pandemic scenario that we've been in and
Definitely
in. So I came out of there thinking that I was running a division, direct marketing manager for a financial services company, and I'd had a great career. And I figured that I had a lot to offer if I went consulting. So I chose that route, that I would go and still work in corporate. And as I like to say, Jackson, I just rearranged the deck chairs on the Titanic. It really didn't work out for me. I went down a rabbit hole, and then I needed to find another way. It really didn't suit me because there were too many, there was a feast or famine when it came to income. And it also meant that I was working far too hard. I got some great gigs, but then I had to resource them. So I was looking for other colleagues to bring into my group so that we could service them. So it really wasn't a great business model. Unfortunately, I found somebody in the States, and I jumped on a plane and went over and did some training for myself initially, and then, fell in love with what I'd learned and how that worked for me. And then I figured there are a lot of people just like me and I could do the same for them. So I've undertaken a couple of certifications, and I've continued to broaden and deepen my knowledge there so I can really help more people like myself, mostly solopreneurs, small business owners, to make and keep more money.
I love that. It's fantastic. So Kathleen, when you saw that program, what was the light bulb moment for you that you saw that you could see something that you needed to make that change?
Sure, because it was originally a branding exercise that I'd gone on. I wanted to rebrand myself. And then I really understood from the marketing perspective how to differentiate myself from everybody else. So it wasn't just about a logo and about how, visually we want to be seen. It was more about how to bring yourself to the story, be yourself. And I say now, show up and be yourself, because every other job is taken, and it's a really easy gig. So it's about brand authenticity. And I actually use archetypes. So it really helps people fill out an assessment and understand the characteristics that represent them from the inside out. And that's what's really important. It's quite a difficult thing sometimes to put your finger on those essential elements of a brand. And my process helps do that. So it also meant that I realised that to be the specialist, there were certain requirements from the marketing perspective. So then all my marketing acumen came into play, and I'm able then to help people see that experts get paid more, and it is more fun, and how to structure around being that go-to person for the thing that you do. And that's the other part of it. What do you do? What results do you get for your clients? And how can you put those into your marketing persona? That does mean you are not like everybody else, and people can identify you with the results that you get.
100%. And look, I think this all starts with that branding piece. And I think many small businesses really misinterpret what branding is all about, because I think we're so confused and led astray by this corporatized branding, like your McDonald's and your kind of big business. But I think you hit the nail on the head that it's all about that kind of personal brand. Who do you want to be and how do you want to show up in your business, right? And
Yeah.
I think that archetype is a really great place to start. I recently went through a process of going through the Myers-Briggs testing myself. And when you go through that process, it's like, wow, I finally understand what makes me tick. And if you don't know yourself, it's very hard for you to try and explain that to everyone else, right?
Yeah, to externalize it. And, I did Myers-Briggs right back in my corporate career, but it was much more complicated, and the information you get is fairly complicated. With the
Sure.
archetypes, it's really simple. And I actually have these beautiful full color 2-side cards, and every archetype has its own. And you can understand a lot more and quickly. Lots of languaging in there as well, the way that you end up, like if you're marketing, as you know, you're either speaking or you're writing, and staying true to your style, to your archetype is really, really easy once you embrace it. And that's what I like. My clients who have actually done branding with me love their brand. They're married to their brand. And that's what we really need. We really need to be connected at the level that we maintain and guard, really, really guard our brand. And as you say, it's not just that corporate positioning, it's the person behind the brand. People don't do, they don't do or buy services from brands. They're not loyal to the brand so much as the person behind the brand. If they engage that way, it's a very good way to develop a relationship.
I agree with that completely. And I think there's this big trap that we're seeing in small businesses, particularly in the service space, of the generalist trap. That there's small business owners that kind of maybe starting business, they go through what we call that street fighter stage. They want to help everyone because, of course, they've got to pay the bills. And then they ultimately always become a jack of all trades. They never specialize.
Mm.
So what do you think the risks of that are, Kathleen, of remaining a generalist in whatever business that you're in?
The risk is all down. There's lots of things there. So Jackson, you know that, well, one, experts get paid more. So that's the first and foremost. Is if you're a generalist, you can't charge higher fees because there are too many people in that general area. But the real trap for that is you tend then to be super busy. So when you take on clients that are all in different areas, then you have to have a lot of tools in your toolbox. When you get really specialized and you do a certain process, and that's something I would like to speak to in a moment, but you can really streamline things, and you're not forever creating new things. You get a client who's outside of what you normally do, and they say, oh, can you help me? And of course, we love to help. And then if you go, yes, and I can do lots of things, you're off down a rabbit hole. You're spending time creating whatever it is they may need. It goes back into that consulting area. It's constantly in, creating new things. And often you never reuse that. It's just been that one person that's wanted you to help on a specific thing. So it not only does it take a lot of time to do that for the person, the one-off, but it keeps you away from serving more people in your area of, chosen expertise, and where you are then able to serve more people. So it's not just about obviously bringing in more income from those people. There are a lot of people who need your help. And if you're not really in the position to dedicate yourself to doing that, there are a lot of people missing out. It's actually quite a selfish thing to do. So, on the one hand, it sounds like a logical thing that you cast your net wide and you can catch more fish, but you need to fish where the fish are. That's the reality.
And it's so counterintuitive, right? And I
Yeah.
think that many business owners, particularly in the service space, they want to be the hero to every story. And it's, I guess, there's sport for choice. Well, okay, who do I want to work with? What do I want to help them with? So, Kathleen, what's the kind of process that a business owner can go through when they've decided they want to start making that transition from maybe being a generalist into a specialist?
Yeah, so I think if you're looking at it from, first of all, as I say, from the branding, and if I talk about the processes I take my clients through, it'll make sense
Yeah,
because there's a
please.
logical step through on all of this. So part of that, knowing yourself and identifying what you really love to do. This is the thing. If you don't create a business model around what you really love to do, you'll be dragging yourself out of bed and dragging yourself around um, through your working day. Who wants to do that? So find that passion from that exploration, and then that's where the brand is created from. It also then the focus on choosing a niche. So I like to think of inch wide, mile deep. How many of the ideal people can you find in that narrow niche and still have a never-ending supply of them? So there's a little bit more than that around niching, but the main thing is to have one. And then you can create your processes around solving their problem. Because if they're in a niche, a similar sort of group, they're likely to have the same sort of problem. And that's something too. And I think perhaps, Jackson, you'll have come across this where people, they don't start with the problem, they start with their solution and try to fix it onto everybody.
It
And
happens a lot.
everybody's not your client.
No.
Yeah, it happens a lot. And of course, that's exhausting. And then people get very negative then because they feel they're rejected because they're not hitting the mark. Well, that's one value of really focusing on a niche. You'll be hitting the mark and getting more people interested. So in that process then about the problem, a lot of people think that they understand their client's problem. And really what they're doing is they know they've got one, but I always encourage people to look at how that problem is being experienced by their ideal client. And that's a different thing. And I'd like to share a case study with you
Yeah,
as well
please.
that will help explain how that plays out, and people might sort of get a light bulb moment like one of my clients did when we went down that route. So that's the thing. You must understand that problem as the client is experiencing it, and then creating what I call the signature system. What system, and people don't often have a system. They think sometimes that it's just ad hoc and that, that it's organic, but really it's ad hoc, and they're just somewhere at some level they do have a process, but they've never identified it. They've never put it into a written program system that I call it productizing your services. So you've actually almost got a tangible product to sell that makes it much easier for people to understand what they're buying. And of course, that system is all about the outcome the client gets when they engage with your processes. Another thing, people they don't care really about what you do, so long as you don't hurt them. They just want the result. But often service-based business owners don't sell the result.
They sell the features
The
and benefits, right?
features and benefits and outcome. So it's not, the features and benefits are great. You need that in all your marketing presentations, but the client is going to buy the outcome. And your system needs to identify the outcome they'll get when they work with you. And then I like to help my clients package and price their system into different offering levels so that the prospective client isn't saying yes or no, they're saying at what level. So a good, better, best model about the processes. So it mostly doesn't require, it requires focusing on the services that people are already doing, but mostly it's almost like business modeling so that they can streamline everything, strip away all the unnecessary things and lighten the load there so they actually have more time to deliver services. And that becomes easier and easier because it's the same thing. It's never boring. It's not like, oh, I will get bored to death with this, because it's a very creative process that people have. And the people that they're serving are always different, but what they're doing is making it really quick and efficient, and the better they get, the better they get. So obviously their expertise goes up and they are able to raise their fees. Because, you know, not only do experts get paid more, but, you know, well-known experts get paid even better.
Of course, exactly. And look, I think this all sounds sometimes for many business owners a little bit of a fairy tale. And they go, oh, look, what happens if I niche and then I don't have any clients? And it's very counterintuitive, right? That the more specific you get in who you target, the more ideal clients you end up attracting. Funny that, right? So let's talk to that case study, Kathleen. I'm sure you've had many clients that you've worked with that maybe had some limiting beliefs prior to working with you. You've taken them through the process and then had that change where things have ultimately got to the outcome that you've promised them. So maybe talk us through a couple of those scenarios.
Yeah, so just quickly to mention about, because I didn't mention about the money mindset.
Sure.
It's all very well to have all of this structure and all the positioning, but people still don't get out of the driveway unless they have self-worth and belief and are willing not only to charge what they're worth, but to receive it. Because often people will have a price point and then they will over deliver because they want to do a good job. Well, don't we all? We will be doing a good job for the fees we're charging, but people sometimes are driven to over deliver. That means then they're sometimes discounting on top of that. So even though they might have a set fee, by the time they actually are paid, they've made all sorts of intervention to lower that rate. There's all sorts of strategies that our subconscious gets up to, the things that trigger us about. So that's a self-worth. Increase your self-worth to increase your net worth, and that's the idea behind all of this. So underpinning everything that I do in the marketing side, that's where the money comes in. So an example of a client, because it gives an idea about how sometimes we're leaving a lot of money on the table as well, and we can pick that up. So this is a client of mine. People can find her on Facebook. Her name is Sharon Hespe, Hespe. And she's a naturopath. So she'd been 10 years in the game and extremely knowledgeable, had great resources, and she was positioned in the marketplace as the food intolerance expert. So she asked if I would help her make a new program, create a signature system. So I asked her why she wanted to do that. And she felt that in the marketplace, she was needing to compete against other people, naturopaths or healers, who were doing something maybe similar, claiming expertise, where she knew they were not necessarily as expert as they were claiming, and two, that they might actually be doing harm with some of the advice and programs that were running. Wow. So I said to her, well, I'm thinking that you don't need a new program. I know how many things she had already. I said, I don't know that that's necessarily the case, but we'll talk a bit more. But what we really ended up doing was looking at her position in the marketplace, the food intolerance expert. And I mentioned earlier about the problem as the client is experiencing it. And I said to her, do your clients know that they've got a food intolerance, or your prospective clients? And it was like literally that light bulb moment. She said, oh my goodness, I don't know. And I don't think so. Maybe they don't know that. So, going in her brand of food intolerance expert sounded like a logical thing because, but I said, well, okay, so how is the client experiencing the problem they've got from having a food intolerance? Oh, she said, they've got a crook gut. Okay. I said, I guess they know they've got a crook gut if they've got a crook gut. And she said, oh, yeah, they'll know. So I said, okay, so there's the problem as the client is experiencing it. So working through branding and repositioning, she's now known as the Good Gut Girl. A nice alliteration, the GGG.
Wow, love that.
And the Good Gut Girl heals the gut in 90 days. And she has 3 programs. One is do it yourself, one's some, email assistance from her, and one's high care, high touch, where they get consultative, do their testing and analysis and all the rest. So good, better, best. She has the Gutsy program. She got the Gutsier one, and then there's the Gutsiest. So they're her offerings, which is a nice personality to her brand. She's got a sense of humour. And so you can see what I'm talking about there. And of course, now clients are deciding at what level they can invest with her to get the outcome to heal their gut in 90 days. And that's her signature system that we created. And the outcome's there, but some people then now have choice. And clients love choice. You give them choice and you'll get more yeses. And she's healing more people, her brand is flourishing, and that's how it works. So it's not a fairy tale. It's simple process for me because that's what I do, but it actually can just change a whole outcome for a business owner who is misunderstood in the marketplace, or trying to serve everybody, or hasn't actually nailed a systemized process. At the end of the day, we have to turn up and deliver.
Yeah.
And that's the other part of this. You've got to have that as easy as you can if you want to have that great, what people call it, work-life balance. I call it integration. And I think integrating our work and our life is possible if we have the right structure.
Definitely. And what's interesting is it's sometimes hard as a business owner to see the light through the trees, right? Like you're stuck on the coal face. You've been doing something the same way for such a long time. And in this example is a prime example that as an expert, we have things that we say that because we're so used to saying it, we think that it's not jargon. We think that it's normal people speak. And no one else in the world identifies with that. They might have the moment, the aha moment afterwards where they say, oh, actually, yes, now I understand. But from the outside looking in, most people don't. And this is the reason why we need experts like yourself, Kathleen, is because the best ideas come from outside of the box, who can bring that fresh perspective to the party, right?
Yeah, right. I think that's true of all of us, isn't it? That we, especially the longer you're at something, the more routine it becomes, and the less, as you say, you can see the real issues. So it's also a great thing to be able to refresh. And also right now, people are looking to pivot. And I've been speaking, pivoting is one thing, but pirouetting, like the little gal in the music box, tingling around, a lot of people are pirouetting and they are flip-flopping. And that's costly in time and money, but also in missed opportunity. The opportunities are there now. Yeah. And as I did back in my time, and I have done ever since, I invest in myself. I think if you don't and are not prepared to invest in yourself and your business, you will get your ROI rapidly if you make the right decisions and look and find the right people to help you. And that's a tip I would give the audience who's listening now. Often people are taking on another coach for that when they haven't analysed what their real need is. And we need to do things in turn. So people are, they're building a website when they're not even clear about how they want to be seen, what they want to be putting in their on their website. Then they can't give a proper brief. They get something ordinary back and they don't like it, and the person building the website's tearing their hair out.
I can imagine.
All of it is first things first, and the foundational things in marketing are really important. But I think if you've got a service-based business, that's for me, it's almost, as I said, business modeling. What do you want to build? I've seen people create a really great business, but they hate it. That's not what they wanted, because they hadn't actually looked at what the outcome for themselves was going to be. And do you find, Jackson, that sometimes people, they say they want to make more money, but the more word is not defined. Correct. So they've got this idea that it's just more, but there's no actual goal and there's no foundation and direction because of that. So they haven't actually looked to see, what does it take to make that income? Definitely. How many clients do you really need?
And more
And
importantly,
it's a lot
why
less
it's
than most
important.
people think. They're amazed how few clients they need to create a great income in balance with what they're wanting to achieve in their life.
Definitely. And I think the first thing this comes down to is that most people don't want a bigger business. They think they want a bigger business, but I
Yeah.
think that's the pressure of entrepreneurship in our modern day. They see
Mhm.
on social media the Gary Vaynerchuks and the Richard Bransons and these bigger than life personalities that are multi-billion-dollar entrepreneurs. But the reality is that, do you really want that? And the answer is, for most people, when they really ask themselves, is no. And we're believers in creating a lifestyle business that
Yeah.
creates you more profit, more free time, and more personal wealth. So we speak the same language, Kathleen, and it's awesome. And
Do
we
you
talk
play
about,
golf?
I don't play golf. No, I am. I'm a terrible at golf, but I do enjoy it. I should get out on the course a little bit more.
Well, that's what I do with my free time, and right now in this lockdown scenario, that's the one thing that's being considered exercise. So
I
that's
love
been a
that.
constant, and there are other things in our life we want to achieve. Like, I love to travel. I've got only two children, but I've got 9 grandchildren,
Yeah, wow.
and my life is outside of my business is important as well. And this is what I think people need to understand when they're planning a business, that they're going to be the business owner, that there's responsibilities in the business, and they get the chance when they're setting it up to choose what they really want to be doing and how much they really need to do to meet that lifestyle.
100%. And I think it's about having that freedom. There's so many business owners that are slaves to their business.
Yeah.
They've maybe been corporate escapees as well, but they've traded 40 hours a week on a fixed salary with certainty for 80 hours a week earning less. So
Yep. That's
this is
often
this
the
is the problem.
reality. True. Yep.
So let's talk about now the opportunity, because I agree with you 100%. There is huge opportunity now. And
Mm.
I think that there are people out there that want to do business, that need help. And through this disruption and everything that's happening, we have a platform as service-based professionals to help more people. So let's say that we've got listeners here that maybe feel a little bit stuck. What are the typical symptoms that they should be looking out for that maybe indicate that they should work with someone like yourself, Kathleen?
I guess the people who are in that scenario, they were probably finding themselves unsure of, one, who their real market is. And if they are a generalist, if they're charging by the hour or by the session, their income is locked down. They can't make more money because there's not more hours of hourly rate would be. So anybody who's doing that sort of thing, perhaps they're just exhausted because they're working far too hard and struggling to bring in the right sort of client or enough clients. And that type of person in a service-based business, I'd love to have a chat with them. One of the ways that I help a client even just get clarity, or a potential client get clarity, is to have a 30-minute conversation. And I do offer that complimentary, and people can find that on my website. And under services, there's a little pull down link there, and they can have a look and see if having a conversation with me would be helpful, and then decide whether what I do, if they wanted to engage with me, or if not, if I don't think that we're a match, I am a big networker, and I can often refer people to who really would be their next best thing to be doing to advance themselves in their business. And sometimes people are not ready for what it is that I offer, and I can help them get the first things first, and then engage in their next best move. That's what I want people to be able to do, is just keep moving forward and do it in sequential steps.
I think that's so important. There's too many shiny objects out there, particularly
Yeah,
everyone's spending so much time at home. They're just saying, oh, well, maybe I should do this program or work with this person. It's about making the next right decision for your business.
yeah, it's essential. And I think that when you do that, you won't be going back and backfilling all the time,
Yeah.
because people make a wrong decision because they're grasping and they've not got the clarity that they really need. And and that's the real important thing. I think just getting clarity in the first part of any of the exercises, being clear about what you really want.
Yeah.
And that's part of the discussion that I can have too. And if people have got history in doing what they're doing, then we can look and see, okay, how's that worked out? And what can you build on? And what can you discard? I'm all for flicking anything that's not necessary, keeping it simple and easy. And at the end of the day, service-based business owners show up and have to deliver.
That's it. I love that. Fantastic.
That's the fun bit.
Well, you've delivered a ton of value, and we've got some really valuable insights. So in order to wrap up, Kathleen, what are the top 3 things that you think the listeners of this podcast should take away and implement in their business?
Okay, so take away. Clearly have a look and see whether out in the marketplace you're being seen as you want to be. Are you being authentic? Are you able to use your own, and I don't mean voice as in speaking, but your own voice, whether you're writing or speaking? Is it what you want to project out there so you can attract the clients you most want to help? That's the first thing. Is it authentic? And the second, do you actually have a real narrow, focused niche of the people that you most want to serve? And are you really clear about the outcome that you get for them? Because that's the equation. You get that right person having the right conversation to get the results that you deliver. And then, really, this is the tricky one. Just, are you charging what you're worth? Do you really feel that your pricing is appropriate and that you are comfortable in that level? And will you be willing to accept more?
I love that. That's fantastic. That's great advice, Kathleen. I think that anybody who's listened to this is going to get a whole heap of value. And I encourage anyone who is in that position, if you're still in that generalist phase, you really want to niche down, earn more of what you're worth, get out of trading time for money, create a true lifestyle business, then definitely reach out and get in touch. So Kathleen, we'll include all of your details in the comments section so people can reach out and have a chat. So it's been a pleasure speaking with you today, Kathleen. Everybody, hopefully you've enjoyed this episode of the podcast. I'm looking forward to catching you next time for our expert masterclass on Enjoy the Journey. Kathleen, thanks again, and looking forward to catching up again soon.
And thank you, Jackson, and everyone else for listening. Bye for now.
Take care.